This is the Grapple of Your Eye Show, episode 27, Angel Verduzco. This is the Grapple of Your Eye Show, episode 27, where our guest today is known to some as the One Armed Bandit. He's a college Folkstyle wrestler. He is a BJJ purple belt. He makes his pro wrestling debut this Friday for MPW, and he is a two-time reigning and defending Wigan Snakebit World Heavyweight Catch Wrestling Champion. Please welcome to the show, Angel Verduzco. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me, Brett.
First question for everyone that comes on here. Where did it begin for you, sir? Where did combat sports or martial arts begin for Angel?
So for me, it honestly started with pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was a really big thing in my house. And
what
it
sort of
still
time?
is.
What sort of people at the time? What era would that have been for you?
For me, it was the Attitude Era. It's just
Attitude Era.
WWF. I grew up doing crotch chops without even knowing what it meant. You know, I walked around sometimes flipping off each corner of the room thinking I was Stone Cold Steve Austin sometimes, and wrestled my knees thinking I was Triple H. That was my introduction to pro wrestling, and then the Ruthless Aggression era. I fell off during the PG, but those are like my main ones. I follow a little bit more now. I feel like it's a little bit more raw sometimes, and I like that. It's just, it blurs reality. That's the best pro wrestling right there. But yeah, that was my introduction. My brother pursued a little bit of pro wrestling, and that got me into it a little bit more. So
how did that lead then? So, I mean, you started, I believe, in like wrestling. Was it school or college? So did one lead to the other, or was it just something that you thought you'd go and try? Or
well, every time I was asked, "Oh, like, what do you want to do when you grow up?" I would say, "I want to be a pro wrestler." And the immediate
we've
turn
been there.
back is it's it's fake, right? Like the tables aren't real. You don't even hit each other, right? And I'm like, oh no, like this is fake. Like I had a little midlife crisis at like 9 years old, maybe 10 years old. Um, so my next thing was, okay, well, I'll do boxing. You know, it's still something that I can see myself doing. It's still like a combat type of thing, and I didn't really pay attention to like karate. I didn't know what the heck jiu-jitsu was. Didn't really know there was a different type of wrestling in the form of, collegiate or amateur wrestling. I thought it was just pro wrestling or, boxing.
Yeah.
So I started training a little bit as like a 12-year-old, I believe, is when I got in. I did a little trial class of jiu-jitsu. I went in for boxing, but I ended up doing the jiu-jitsu class, and some kid that was about my size, like he was kind of like getting the better of me. We were just doing some techniques, and I just watched them do the live rounds. But I was like, man, like this is so weird. Like, how is this kid like controlling me? And like, I think I'm strong. Like, how is he throwing me this way and this and that? So I don't remember that instructor's name, but he was like my first trial class, and then I signed up for the now ancient LA Boxing. Now it's UFC gym. but signed up for LA Boxing, trained there, and there was like a coach and schedule change. So the MMA class that I initially signed up for became a boxing only class, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever, I can still train. The guy, the coach, um, he just wasn't the best instructor, and I ended up getting a really bad concussion. He had me go three 5 minute rounds with some guy that wanted to try out the gym, and so I'm this like 5'3", 5'5", 12 year old. I'm a little big, and this guy's a little bit bigger than me. Maybe 5'7", definitely more filled out, but he was not going to lose to a 12-year-old. And I'm throwing any heat. He's slugging it back. Uh, he had to be no younger than like 21. I ended up getting a really bad concussion, actually, even a brain bleed in my left lobe.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that was my first time dealing with something very, very serious, especially like really early into my, I guess, my now career. I sat out for a year and was just obsessed over still doing something combative, something to defend myself, where I can like, oh man, he snuck back in. Sorry,
That's okay.
this is Hades.
Hey, Hades.
All right,
There we go. That
now we're
was
good.
Hades the cat with a little cameo there. He
Little
wanted to
cameo.
tag in.
Um, Sorry, bud, I'm still working. But um, so yeah, I still want to do something like combative, and one way or another, I really started to focus on the jiu-jitsu aspect of MMA, which I again had a little taste of it, but now I was like, okay, I don't get hit here. I can still do this, and I think I sat out of anything physical for about 3 months to let the blood
Yeah, but
dissipate
you're
in my
like,
head.
yeah,
Um, but it took a year of begging my dad to put me in jiu-jitsu. So for one whole year, I begged and begged. I gave him. I was like, "Dude, Dad, like, I'm not gonna get punched in the face. You can tap out anytime. Like, I can still kick someone's ass. Like,
yeah,
it's cool. It's safe." And then finally, we tried out Half Gracie Jiu Jitsu over here in we called it Anaheim, I believe. Yeah, Half Gracie in Anaheim. This is where I actually met a lot of people that I'm still in contact with today, like
hmm
my jiu-jitsu instructor, Bruno Mamuch Paulista, who's had his own form of adversity. Um, Benil Dariush, I still train with him right now at his gym at Kings MMA Anaheim.
hmm
And kind of to go back a little tangent, I was also a little bit exposed to catch wrestling at that time
oh,
by kind of like talking to Bruno because I found out he went against my now coach Josh Barnett. I was just doing some research as a kid, as a white belt, you're like, oh, I'm obsessed with this. I got to look up videos and techniques and who's my
oh yes,
coach and how does he compete. So I found out he went against Josh, talked to him about it, and he said, oh yeah, he does catch wrestling, and I was like, what the heck is that? Puts on gi, but um, from there, my head was totally fine. I started doing some kickboxing or Muay Thai classes here and there that were hosted at Half Gracie. Um, but now I was like, okay, I want to do MMA. To I started noticing the trend that all these wrestlers win all these championships, and they can beat jujitsu guys a little bit easier than guys who don't wrestle or just straight jujitsu guys. Sometimes like a stalemate. Sometimes you know, jujitsu will dominate the guy that doesn't know any grappling or very little grappling. So around that time, I entered high school, and I was just that really just came over me, and I was just so immersed, and I'm still immersed to this day. I just felt so in love with wrestling. At high school, I wrestled for Steve Lawson. He was the head coach there. Had some really good coaches there too. Pablo Cunningham, Sadie Morales, Mark Honig. Like all these guys were the catalyst to me almost becoming the competitor that I am now. They saw how stubborn I was, and how obsessed I was and how I wanted it to be better and better. And they invested in me. They took me to big tournaments. They beat me up when I needed to get beat up. They pushed me on the track, everything. They helped me set my mentality for getting ready for matches, handling losses,
Mhm.
and having some poise, having some confidence and pride in yourself and who you represent. Um, Unfortunately, my high school career, my third year, I had a scare. I subluxed my right shoulder. I didn't know what the heck that was. I just felt I got lat dropped, and I felt like, oh, like something came out and like went back in, and it just hurt for a long
Yeah.
time. That progressed to like full on dislocations, and I had to like relocate my own arm because I was just freaked out and would rather put it back in there myself than like wait for a trainer or someone professional to help me out.
Lethal Weapon
Um,
2. Bang.
yeah, borderline. My coach, my high school coach actually sent me a video. He's like, "You should do this when your shoulder pops out next." I'm like, "Dude, this is
You know,
scary." um, but it the injury progressed. I had a great junior year in high school. Didn't place less than third or fourth at every tournament that I competed in, and these were like some pretty hard ranked tournaments in California. But didn't really listen to my body, and it kept pushing and full on. Like I started getting real tissue damage and bone loss in my shoulder. And although I still finished rather strong in high school, uh, I didn't finish as strong as I liked to, as I would have liked
yeah.
to. Because my dream was, go wrestle D1. Ideally, at the time, I wanted to wrestle for the Iowa Hawkeyes because they were the Hawkeyes. At my high school were the Golden Hawks. I was like, yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be a Hawkeye.
And the whole
But
Iowa
ultimately,
sort of thing, isn't it? Yeah.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
who doesn't want to? If you're obsessed with wrestling, who doesn't want to be in a community that's obsessed with wrestling, right? Like
But
that was
just
just
also,
me.
but just before
Mhm.
you sort of carry on from that bit, can you just explain, because a lot of non-American listeners, what's the high school wrestling setup like? I know it's probably different from school to school, but in general, what's like a high school sort of wrestling program? Because in the UK, sports isn't a priority in most schools. You have a football team or a soccer team, maybe a cricket team, something like that, and you kind of do your city and then your county and then maybe like some other ones, national or something like that. But there isn't like such a system like you guys have in the States. So can you just explain it just a little bit what the sort of the high school system's like?
Yeah, perfect. I brought enough crayons, and I'll draw it right here now. um, the high school system, I think it's pretty good as far as producing high level wrestlers, even
Mhm.
athletes all around. USA has a lot of at least medalists, definitely gold medalists in the Olympics and other world level competitions.
Yeah.
But high school wrestling specifically, um, if you go to a kids club, you're pretty much golden. You'll have a head up of high school wrestling, but when you just start as a freshman, you'll either be put in the freshman team, the junior varsity team, or the varsity team, right? And I say that
Mhm.
because varsity teams usually need smaller guys, and the more experienced seasoned like varsity guys, they've kind of outgrown or like they're still growing, and it's hard for them to cut that weight. So
Yeah.
sometimes a little freshman gets plucked and put in the varsity lineup. But typically, as far as practices are held, the freshmen have to get the meat potatoes, just basics, basics, basics. Understand that. Then JV, it's a mix of the kids that can't make the varsity lineup for one reason or another, and also the kids that are really trying to make that varsity lineup.
Yeah.
So it's like a gray area there, but ideally, I would compare it to like a purple belt where
Hmm.
you know moves, you know situations. It's just where are you good at, and then try to get better at that.
Yeah.
Varsity, I would say that's not necessarily like black belt. As like I don't think a varsity wrestler, high school wrestler, can beat up anybody. He could definitely hold their own, but can't really like beat up anybody. But comparatively speaking, varsity, you should know your situations. You should know what you're good at. Understand strategy and understand mat awareness. Like, where are you on the mat? How much time is left? Do I have a stall call? It's a little bit more advanced. And if you're really really good, there's the elite varsity level, which you'll mainly see those at like off-season competitions where they really try to
Okay.
separate like the skill divisions. But that's the main way that
Okay.
you know high school wrestling is held in the United
And
States.
then do you have, because from sort of British TV and well,
Mhm.
American TV shown in England, it would seem that all these tournaments will have people around who are then trying to get you to go to their college for wrestling. Is that the sort of that's the sort of the understanding we have? There's always someone there who tries to like lure you to this big college or a sports car or something. And, hey, come and play football or whatever for us. But that's our that's the media's sort of how it sells it to us, I think, when they try and get these athletes to then go to their like universities and all that sort of thing. So,
Yeah,
what step did you take to the next part up? So, so you've got to that point, as you say, you
mhm.
finished out that season. What was next for you then?
So for me, I was still injured when I went into junior college. I got surgery to fix my shoulder,
Mhm.
and it worked. My right shoulder has been going strong since 2017. But I
Excellent.
ended up getting re-injured in at Cerritos College, which didn't mention, but I wrestled for Donnie Garriott and Eric Gould. Um, but you know, I still had that fire, and I still competed, and I still did my best. I walked away with 2 state medals, and my goal: win state. Who doesn't want to win state? But at the state tournament is where I noticed that people want to lure you into their colleges, and
Yeah.
that's where like the kind of movie stuff happens, right?
Okay.
It's more like at the big tournaments as opposed to like small rinky dink weekend things that don't really matter. It's just more for experience. Like maybe you'll find somebody there that and you'll catch your eye. But for me, in my experience, it was them seeing me wrestle either live or online, and then getting my information from my coach, Donnie Garriott, and then messaging me, texting me an offer or letting them letting me know that they're interested in me. And I got a fair amount of offers both years that I wrestled that state before I transferred
Okay.
out to what ended up being my last college.
Okay. And then what happened next?
So what happened next is I went to 2 colleges for like a trip. One in North Dakota, and I didn't really like it because North Dakota is just really cold, and in March everything was still dead. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the second spot, which ended up being my last college, it was Baker University. I wrestled there under the legendary Coach May, Jimmy May, Cody Garcia, Patrick Rhodes, who was an Iowa Hawkeye, and Victor Hughes. So and Adam Venegas. Yeah, there was a lot of people on that staff, but it was my girlfriend and I. We met here in California, and then 6 months into the relationship, we had a serious talk, and we were like, "Hey, I want to go here. You want to go here?" But she ended up actually applying to my college, Baker University, that I was getting offered to, and my grades are so bad that they accepted her before me, and so I had to do like a whole different process to get accepted. But I did. Um, yeah, wrestled 2 years there during the COVID, like 2020 season, which was a nightmare. And
What did
then I
you
believe
notice
the
any differences from obviously what was the step up like from where you were to then sort of going at college and like you say with those sort of coaches as well? Was there any sort of changes in sort of training and like just in tournaments, etc., in competition as well? What did you know? What were the big differences you noticed for you?
oh yeah, yeah. Different culture around wrestling over there. Like a lot of people way more passionate in the Midwest about wrestling. My coach, Cody Garcia, he's a testament to that. Like that guy, I thought I was obsessed with wrestling. This guy is wrestling almost, you know? Like he's at every tournament, every practice, leads everything. Now he's at a different college, but he's still the same guy. Just it was just different there in the fact that we didn't necessarily go hard. Like we weren't trying to kill each other per se, but we had the intensity of getting better, but having the mentality of we got to save our bodies because we only get so
Yeah,
much time. And
smarter, not harder,
um,
sort of thing. Yeah, that's
exactly,
cool.
yeah. Like I think I had a little bit more resources as far as recovery. Um, Back at Cerritos College, it was just different. It was bigger and a community college, so I believe they got more funding. Baker was private, so although I had a really good trainer staff, like Amanda, she's the homie. If she sees this, you're the homie. She helped me a lot with injuries and but yeah, the just the culture, the mentality, the mindset, and then just the skill level. Like it's another big jump wrestling junior college where you kind of like at least in California, you kind of wrestle the same guys over and over, and then a national stage where you see different guys and they're just a little bit tougher, a little bit more technical. Like things got really gritty in the Midwest.
Hmm. What would you say was the one big thing that you were like, right, I need to do this now? Or was it maybe a technique or a different thing in training? Like where there's that one thing of like, right, I need to add this to my game now. Because there's always that, every time there's that sort of step up, there's always that one bit where you're like, right, I need to, I don't know, cardio, or I need to get like that reversal sorted, and then I'll be, or whatever it might be. What was
Mhm.
it? What was it at that point for yourself?
I don't know if it was necessarily a move that I was like, oh, I need to really do this because I typically wrestle where I'm good at, and
Hmm.
if not, then I try to lead you to where I'm good at. But I will say, my last year, which I technically have one more year, I have a COVID year, but I'm 28. I was 25 in college. I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
move on. But my last year of competition, I think it was 21 and 22, like the 2021 slash 2022. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
So,
I had a moment of like kind of clarity where I was like, oh crap, like this isn't forever. Like, I'm gonna graduate college soon, and this isn't gonna be an option anymore. And I love traveling. I love the Midwest, and I love my team and my coaches. But I was like, this is do or die. So I think in January of 22, I rest. We went to the national duels in Tennessee. Yeah, no, Louisville, Kentucky. I get those confused. Americans and their geography. Am I right? But my team wanted me to wrestle a heavyweight, and my first match ended up being the number three heavyweight in the country for NAIA, which is a different division than NCAA. But number three nonetheless. Big Mongolian guy, like from Mongolia. Like this guy, like he eats a whole bison for breakfast, and who knows what else for the rest of the day. Like he was strong, he was athletic, explosive, everything. I think returning champ as well. I think the game plan would just go out there, see what I can do, maybe take it the distance, but the distance it did not touch. I I ended up getting injured that match. I had a really bad leg injury from stopping a throw. Uh, he was smart. He went to it again as far as like attacking my leg, and I could not. I don't know how I did it, but he got on top, and I'm stand up with over 250 pounds on me, and I get an escape point, but yeah, we go back to neutral because we went out of bounds. And sure enough, ref blows the whistle. He hits me with this like insane foot sweep that targets that bad leg, and I just went down like a sack of potatoes. I just could not stand, let alone wrestle. So long story short, from there, I had maybe about one more month to get good competition or at least practice before they make the final lineups for the year, which
Yeah,
they take to the regional tournament. If you qualify, you go to the national tournament. So again, shout out to Amanda. She was one of the few people that didn't stop believing in me and like what I could do, and my coaches too. They were like super. Down. They just really encouraged me and like, and I'm sure they kind of had to look over their shoulder and be like, I hope he can make it. But I just had a really great support system, and I did my rehab every single day. I even added exercises sometimes just because I was obsessed with just getting better. I forced myself to start walking with like one crutch and then zero crutches, even if it was just baby steps. I forced myself to do it just because in my head, it would promote the healing faster. And I've heard it too, where you shouldn't limp if you hurt your leg, or you shouldn't baby something if you hurt it. Like try to use it as normal as possible to promote healing, and healing it did. I came back really really strong and had my best performance in college at the regional tournament. Ended up getting third. I got my cool plaque right here. Ta-da! There you go.
excellent, nice.
Yeah, I ended up getting third. The bad news is um, only the first two people in my weight class that year were able to qualify for nationals, and my coach wasn't able
Oh,
to petition me, and it is what it is. I was really happy with my performance um, because to me, I didn't give up. That whole month, didn't give up. Um, I just felt at peace knowing that I did everything I could to at least walk away with something and say that I did my best. And I got the respect of my teammates even more after that, my coaches, and that honestly for myself, it was a really difficult thing to go through, like mentally and definitely physically, but mentally I was just like, man, like, is this how it's gonna end? Like, I can't let it happen like that. So it took a lot of support, but also a lot of mental fortitude to power through that.
no, excellent. Like you say, you came back from it and you finished it out. So that is good because that's the hardest bit. The mental battle sometimes is the hardest bit because it's even in like say just competition in general. Sometimes, I mean, it's like jiu-jitsu. I'm like ultra heavy, but like.
Mm.
I'm just in the ultra heavy end, and then the sort of, a Brock Lesnar guy comes along, and you're like, oh, good, yeah. And everyone's like, no, you've got a chance. I'm like, no, I haven't. But but you just like you say, it sounds like you're a Mongolian friend. Just but you have a go and you see what you can do. And sometimes you're like, oh, actually, yeah, I've just got round behind. Suddenly you have got something, and you're like, oh, okay. And but you're beating yourself before you even do anything. Sometimes, and I think that's one
Mhm.
of the bigger bits that gets sort of forgotten about sometimes. Everyone's too busy nowadays wanting to see a little video of a forward roll into an arm lock, into a leg lock, into another forward roll, into something else, and whatever it's called these days. The actual mental chess of it all, I think, is even harder
Mhm.
sometimes. But okay, then. So we're finishing up at college now. You've got your play. You come in third. Is that it
Mhm.
now? Is this your combat career done with?
I just threw the towel and I was
That was
done.
it. Yeah.
That was it. No, I I failed to mention this, but I think towards the end of high school, I started training with Eric Paulson and Josh Barnett, and um, Josh really ended up becoming my head coach since
Okay.
about 2017, really. So I kept in touch with him while I lived in Kansas, and let him know how things are going. And finally, once I graduated, well, once my girlfriend and I graduated, we finally moved back to California. And ever since then, it was almost like I had a chip on my shoulder. I wanted to earn my right to compete in certain spots, especially when I
I
found
know
out about.
exactly what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like just like that drive was still there. And I heard about this catch wrestling snake pit championships, and I'm like, dude, I'm a catch wrestler. I train with Josh. Like, I should go. In my head, I didn't say it to anybody.
yeah,
And I could because I ended up not being the first choice for my weight class. Josh chose somebody else, and he wasn't able to make it for one reason or another, and I was the alternate. And I my first year I could not waste a day of training. I had to prove something. Um, it was like my first big-ish tournament. I compare it
yeah,
to when I did the ADCC Open in Vegas. Like, it was the first one, and I had the unlucky draw of getting Jacob Couch. And so, first round, I'm like, damn. I definitely beat myself before the match even started. I know I'm way better than the performance that I did, so I get you what you mean. Like the mental
yeah,
battle right there was just like, I crapped the floor. But kind of going back to the first snake pit, like train with Josh as much as I could. I had a lot of big guys come and train with me, and just beat me up, wrestle their style, wrestle within the rules, be in the mental space of I'm in a high pressure situation right now. Let's say mentally, this is the first match. I got to get through this guy. I got to submit him, or I got to put him on his back real quick, or control the match, dictate the pace. Okay, second match. Now I got to do this strategy. Okay, no, now this round, this is for the world championship. Like I'm down by I don't know style points and what have you. But it was like training was just religious for the first one. Second year, it was like now I have something to really prove. I'm the world champ, and I would have to like. I hate the air dime, but sometimes I would do it to obviously do my cardio, and I would yell in the gym. Like it was private gym, and no one was inside, so don't think I'm that crazy. But I'll yell at the gym like, "I'm the world champ! I'm the world champ! No one can touch me!" Like that. That's sort of like kind of
yeah.
cringy, but
I don't
like
know if it
firing up
works.
style.
It's
Yeah,
motivation. It's what
yeah,
fires you up, man. Yeah, I totally get that.
100%. Yeah, and still same thing. Wrestled with Josh as much as I could. Wrestled with my strength coach Eric Hammer.
But what was it like? Just
Yeah,
going back to like the first one, because
yeah, yeah.
obviously there's lots of different tournaments around, but this is the Wigan Snake Pit. This is the the cradle where everything crawled out from, the cradle of life of wrestling and such. What was it like
Mm.
when that first time like you walked in there, or like to the actual like the did because I know the tournament because like the Snake Pit itself,
Mm.
their normal gym, and then obviously you had where the event was as well. What was it like that
Mm.
coming across and coming in and all that? Because I
Well,
remember the first time I ever walked in there, it was almost like that, ah,
yeah, yeah,
sort
yeah,
of like that moment.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it
honestly,
is.
that's exactly how it was. Traveling over there was awesome. Like I've only been to Japan and Mexico. I'm Mexican, surprise, surprise. So I went to visit my homeland, but I've never been across the pond, and so I
Okay. Oh,
immediately
so it's your first
loved
time to
it, and
England as well.
100%,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Everyone
cool.
was so nice, and they were just. I love different like cultures, different cuisines, and um, we ended up going to Bolton, and after we got off the train, half of the we tried walking half of the way, and they were like, you know what, let's just get an Uber. So we went to I think the Bolton Hotel, stayed there, and as you said, like once we finally walked into like the arena, it was just like all these trophies, all the flags, the bells, the lighting, the mat. It was just you could just really feel like the aura, the ambiance, like I'm and although I was really nervous, I chose to embrace it. Um, you know, especially if I've had two great forms of advice as far as like handling your nerves. The first one was, don't tell yourself you're nervous, tell yourself you're excited because they're two very similar things.
Yeah,
It's
no, that's
just
good.
it's just your mindset, like if you tell yourself you're nervous, then you're gonna underperform. If you tell yourself you're excited, then you're gonna at least aspire to your best potential. And the second advice was from Coach McTaggart, who has cornered me these past two World Championships. Um, Fergus McTaggart, legendary guy. He knows everybody.
Mm.
But I told him, like, I'm like, oh man, I'm just a little bit nervous right now, coach. He's like, why? I'm like, oh, we came over here. I don't want to lose, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, just give yourself like 30 minutes. I'm like, what do you mean? I think he told me that Helen Maroulis, or he told Helen Maroulis this, or he told a big wrestler this one time, and they adopted it, and they performed well as well. Uh, where give your have fun, laugh, make jokes, but like 30 minutes before your match, zone in. That's when you start to lock in and think about what you do, and it just he said it so nonchalant. I was like, you're right. Why am I freaking out? Like I just got to wrestle my best, and I wrestled with Josh, I wrestled with other guys that are pretty freaking good and pretty strong. Like I got this. So yeah, but I went out my first match, just honestly dominated the guy. Um, hit a one of my most beautiful lat throws. We went out of bounds after that, but from there started on top, got a good old neck crank, and went on to the finals. Wrestled Wade Barrick in the finals, and that guy is a bull. I locked up with him, and
He was
oh my
defending.
god,
He was defending champion as well, wasn't he? That year, he was the defending
correct,
champion as
yeah.
well.
And that
The
was a little bit of sprinkles, like who doesn't
yeah,
want to beat the man? And like Ric Flair says, you got to beat the man to be the man, and I
yeah.
had to beat Wade. And all respect towards him. I saw him again last year at last year's World, and very cordial, super friendly guy. But yeah, he was just a tough competitor. I could not, aside from the takedown and like some occasional turns, I could not really get much on him. He was just so strong and just so stubborn. You're seeing this weight. Stop being so stubborn next time, please. But yeah, very honorable guy afterwards. Very respectful, and had some pints after
Excellent.
that.
Yeah, yeah. You learned. What about the second year then? Because, like you say, the first year it's all new, it's all shiny. But the second
Mhm.
year, you're coming back in with a target on your back because you're
Oh
the champ
yeah,
now.
oh
So what
yeah.
was it like the second year?
Second year, um, like I said earlier, it was like I really had to prove it. Like
Yeah,
I didn't just like maybe beat Wade. Like I have to prove it, and I was mentally I was prepared to go against Wade again, or just really anybody that was high level in the area or just around the world. I still had the mentality of like I'm the world champ. Like no one can beat me. Like I was just in that mentality. Um, Granted, I will say I wrestled a little bit more conservatively that this past year, and I wasn't super happy with how I performed. I'm happy that I got a second world championship,
yeah.
but my first match, it was decent. I think I could have gone the guy a little bit faster. The second match against Joe Bowden, he was, oh my god, insanely strong too. He was just like another bull, just trying to move him, and he just had this incredible base, and this incredible like core strength. But I did end up being able to pin him, and my last match was against my good old friend of me. Uh, is it Greg Hartley? I call him Craig sometimes, and he calls me Angle. But yeah, he not another no slouch. Like that guy knows what he's doing, and um, I got to throw on him, but I think I still wrestled too conservatively because I've wrestled Craig before. My bad, Greg. It's just unnatural. But I wrestled him before over here in the States for an ACWA tournament, one of Josh's 8 catch wrestling competitions. the whole Snake Pit team came, and it was a great time. But I wrestled him in the finals of that one too, and I got a good sense of where he's good at, and I was a little bit concerned as far as if he picked up where I may be weak at, or um, maybe he gets something that I've never seen him do before because we trained a little bit, then we competed, then we competed again. So
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, what was happening, but yeah, I was just still really excited. Both times that I won it, I didn't sleep a minute that night. I was just on a big high, and I'm just
Fair
super
play to you,
excited
sir.
and grateful.
And now it brings us to 2025. Is the three-peat happening?
Yeah, no, the
Is this
three
the
P has
one?
to
Is this the
happen. Is this the one? This is the one. Like
yeah.
I was teased. I was teased extremely with the first time I won it. I was like, "Oh my god, my first belt! I get to keep it." And then I was made aware of the rules that they had. So
Yeah.
gotta
So
win
yeah,
it
it's
three
only
times to
one.
keep it.
Yeah, you got to win three times to keep it. Anyone who's unaware of that, and this is the one that's going to happen.
This
So
this is the
what's the
one.
prep this year now? Because now first year, yeah, okay. Second year, you had a target on your back. This time, you got a target with light splashing around it and a smoke machine. You know,
Yeah, some guy directing traffic this
people are
way.
watching you now. Yeah, people are watching you now. They're like looking for things. They're looking at those tournaments online now. You know, not to scare you
100%.
or put any more pressure. But what's that like now? You know, you're walking in, as the man, as Mr. Flair would say. You know,
Because
what are you carrying on those shoulders this year?
this year, there's I don't think there's much pressure on me, and even if there is, like maybe at the heat of the moment, my coach Cody Garcia, he told me something a while ago. Pressure is a privilege. Not everybody gets to do this, and you just got to be grateful for the situation. And um, I'm gonna just keep bringing that same mentality that I have towards every match. As far as like I don't care who's in front of me. I'm gonna throw everything and the kitchen sink at you. Like I
Excellent.
want, like, even if you're better than me, I want you to know that I didn't quit. I came after your head. I'm here for dog fights, and I'm here to wrestle smart. But ultimately, I want my hand raised, and I want to give a good performance that I could lay my head and feel peaceful with, and also something like entertaining for the fans. Who wants to just see like the stalemate, move here, and then a ref raise somebody's hand? Like, no,
Yeah.
I want finishes. I want, if possible, I want them fast. I'm gonna stay aggressive. I'm gonna stay hungry and look for some openings and keep hunting.
So you've got that this year then. But outside of that, what other have we got any other goals? Have we got any other targets? Because I'm imagining you're not waiting around every year just to defend your title again. What other have you got other things going on? Other, any other ambitions? Anything that you want to get your hands on?
Not really. I'm just enough on the shelf after the worlds.
Well, that's true.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, no. I'm doing a few things. Still wrestling related. I just took over a high school wrestling program.
Oh,
So
excellent.
I took over for Brea Linda High School, and we set a school record last year for having the most league champions. It was 9 out of, actually, my bad. The most CIF qualifiers, which we had a team of 12 kids, and 11 of them qualified.
Oh, that's
10 of them were
excellent.
champs. Yeah. So I'm looking to keep building that program, uh, build my Brea Wrestling Club,
Oh,
because
nice.
I find a lot of youth. Find a lot of youth. I find a lot of enjoyment working with the youth,
Well, I do the
especially
same.
with
I'm an
wrestling.
assistant coach at ours for the rest. Yeah, and it is. It's just a different. I mean, our biggest thing at the moment, I don't know what it's like over there, is just trying to recruit more. We want more through the doors, really, and just sort of. But again, some of them, I think, when you say wrestling think of no, they're coming in with their steel chair, or the
Yeah.
or like or the parent then Googles UFC and sees someone getting suplexed on the back of the neck, and it's now we're
Oh
trying to make it
yeah.
more somewhere in the middle of that, like so it's that sort of the expectations in this country, as I say, where we don't have that like school, college thing of it, it seems to be one. They either think it's like WWE or it's some sort of cage fighting nightmare sport that they don't want their child near. So
Well,
we're
funny
trying,
enough,
we're trying to beat that at the moment.
yeah, yeah. Well, funny enough, we have a similar pushback over here. Like some parents are
Okay.
like, "No, I don't want my kids to wrestle, not because they're going to get injured, because of ringworm." the the most basic of skin infections. They're like, "Oh no, I don't know, this ringworm is disgusting. Like there's a worm under your skin." I'm like, "No, first it's fungal. Well, second, it's treatable. Like, and it's very easy to treat. Like, that's the biggest pushback that I hear back in the States. Like over there,
Oh,
it
well,
sounds like they have some valid arguments,
yeah,
but
it's just that perception of it because it's not a,
yeah,
you say wrestling, everyone thinks WWE, and that's it all like the Olympic one. And we end up in
yeah,
that kind of, it's like that South Park episode, wrestling,
yeah, yeah,
sort of. But yeah, but it's building though. It's building because we're in like the south of England, so we're like literally right down the bottom. Even the Wiggins are at the top. We're down here just in Southampton, just above the Isle of Wight, so literally right on the coast. So it's the other side.
Mhm.
So most wrestling, like anything sort of north of London, is sort of wrestling. Whereas we're right down the south. We're the only like affiliated club with the British Wrestling Association as well. So our
Mm,
tournament's done well because we're the first ones to put on the tournament in that area, and we're getting the people in. But
nice.
as a recruiting thing, trying to build it up, it's a tough thing because it's just not in that culture, and they'd all rather go and play football or sorry soccer
Yeah.
as as it translates across. But that's good. Though. So the coaching, have you got any kind of programs that you've sort of designed as a coach, or are you just sort of have you got any specific sort of strategies or anything, or to
Um,
introduce and to build up?
right now, I'm actually working on a lot of like planning
Oh, excellent.
our summer program, which will eventually lead to our fall and winter programs. Um, so that's where I'm finding some joy. I like doing some admin work, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my god, what do I teach them? How do I teach them? But I'm finding my way of how to like break it up to like the freshman, junior varsity, and
Yeah,
varsity divisions, and also just thinking of how to build a culture or just like a strong community. A lot of people say culture, so it's just I just want to build a strong community that embraces wrestling, but also just embraces the grind. The grind of
yeah,
having to get up and do the things that you don't want to do for the things that you want, um, and just trying to positively reinforce kids. Because I had my fair share of coaches that sometimes they'd elevate me with some like when I was down, and sometimes they would have to like yell at me, not because I necessarily did something wrong, but that was just their strategy. Like that was their way of pushing buttons sometimes.
yeah,
I'm not much of a yeller. If I'll maybe raise my voice at a competition where like a ref makes a very questionable call and I got to stand up and get the heat on me, instead of like the ref being like, no, that was a illegal move. I'd be like, no, like, kind of like me trying to sometimes maybe by time, like maybe the
yeah,
kid's really tired, like, oh yeah, no, that was horrible, but other times it's just really trying to like change the call and um, yeah, just be that coach. But overall, like I always try to tell my kids that I'm really proud of them, especially when they noticeably put in the effort in practice or even in the actual match itself. I try to let them know I'm really proud of them for doing their best.
yeah,
I'll let them know where they improved and where they could improve. Um, so it's not just like, hey man, like that double leg was just stinky. Like what the heck was that? Like blah blah blah. You're horrible. You're never gonna make it in life. I'm not that coach. I'm just like, hey man,
yeah. No, yeah, I know what you mean. No, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because just the slightest thing sometimes can just you know you could be putting off a future champion or something just from like a little comment that Especially
100%.
because I'm an English teacher by day as well, so at school, so it's secondary school, so I do like English language, English literature, and all that, and like you say, trying to sometimes, especially nowadays, get some teenagers interested in Shakespeare is an
Yeah,
interesting battle. So you have to pick your battles and your words carefully because you don't want to put them off it. And yeah, no, I totally get that. And that
yeah,
sounds really
100%.
good though. So from the coaching then and all that, you've also got a debut coming up.
I do. I do. I
Yes.
have still wrestling related. Told you I'm obsessed with wrestling,
Yeah.
but I will be making my professional wrestling debut this Friday, June 20th, and I have the luxury of wrestling a really established pro wrestler in Royce Isaacs. He wrestles for New Japan, and he's been a belt collector, around the country.
Yeah.
So he's tough competition. I've trained with him here and there. Um, he actually was one of the big bodies that helped me get ready for both Cash World. So I know he can bring it. I know he's really strong, and I'm just really excited to put on a performance and show everybody what I can do.
Yeah, well, good luck with it. So what
Thank you.
um, without going over the obvious that everyone knows, you're going from that to that. Is that something that people? I think it's all crossed over quite well nowadays. But is there still a little bit of sort of? But you're a wrestler, not a wrestler. Is there sort of, or do people not care anymore?
Uh, I've gotten some questions. Everybody thinks they know pro wrestling. They're like, "Oh, like, are you a good guy? You a bad guy? What's your name gonna be? Are you gonna win? You gonna lose?" And I those are the questions that I get more as opposed to like, "Hey, you're gonna keep doing this," which I'm with you. I think everything blends together. My coach is the perfect example. Josh Barnett has done pro wrestling for legends like Antonio Inoki,
Yeah.
Maeda, and like all these like established names, um, does MMA and has done grappling competitions. Like the guy is a full package. I'm essentially doing the same thing. It's just maybe a different rule set, maybe different venue, but wrestling is wrestling is wrestling. It's I'm
Is
here to
there
put on a
anything
show.
in how you train for wrestling? Is it any different to
Mhm.
how you train for wrestling? Yeah, I
Nope. I mean,
exactly say. I
I'll
always said that. People say,
yeah, I'll
well, yeah, but
definitely
you
jump
don't have
into
to do
that.
it the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
mean, my
I'll
oh god,
I'll sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
it's like,
So I mean, I most of my training is the same. I'll still go and train at King's MMA and get some really solid rounds with Daniel Dariush and a few of the other bigger guys and medium guys. And it is full on live. I'm not like jumping off a freaking bench machine just to drop an elbow.
yeah.
It's the same thing. I'll go to CMMA, train with Josh, do some striking, do some more grappling with him, especially. Got to pick his brain as much as I can. But occasionally, he and I will go to a pro wrestling ring and learn how to, run the ropes, how to fall properly, and just understand pro wrestling a little bit more. But
Yeah,
that's the only little like tweak, right? Everything's the same. You got to move properly. You got to have that just basic awareness of where you're at.
well, that's always been my argument. I was like, this all came from somewhere, like
Mhm.
in pro wrestling, those holds are holds. Yeah, people go, oh, yeah, but they're not trying to kill him. No, maybe they're not putting them on as hard as you could put them on. But if you've got put
Mhm.
in that hold, it's still going to hurt you. It's not picking someone out and slamming them. It's still a slam. Well, they know how to fall. Yeah, it's you gravity. You can't fake gravity. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
people know how to fall. I mean, this week, I mean, I hope she's right. I just watched a bit that just now. Liv Morgan just did a forward fall and just took her shoulder in two pieces on
I
Raw
saw
last
that.
night or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like, and that was every what people would call a common move. She just did like a full bump or face bump or whatever. And
Mhm.
though it is a dangerous sport. It gets okay. People, it can be a bit soap opera and people get a bit caught up
Yeah.
in that sometimes. But the actual moves and things, there's a reason they say don't try this at home,
Oh, yeah.
which I don't think UFC have ever said. but they should do at some point. They
Yeah, they
should have that
just
average.
fight
So,
each other.
yeah. But well, no, well, good luck with that, and I hope that
Thank you.
goes well for you. Now, to anyone who's been listening to this, or anyone who's thinking, "Hey, this guy sounds good," or "Where can I watch that match?" or "Where can I see more of him?" or his catch wrestling, or whatever, what's the best way for people to get hold of you or to follow you and what you're up to?
Yeah. So I have my personal Instagram. That's where I mainly post most of my things. It's Angel underscore Verduzco 96. Um, I have a pretty cool metal merchandise store. If you guys are interested, I sell lots of merchandise, like official, heavy metal merchandise, like Bolt Thrower, Slayer, Iron Maiden, like T-shirts such like that.
Oh, I
On
don't
the
know that. Okay, I'll be coming looking
Yeah,
at them.
and it's under Metal Store. It's a little play on words from one of Gore's songs, Metal Land. So one of my favorite songs as well. Um, that's pretty much where you can really follow me. Um, Aside from that, if you want to train with me, if you're in the States, you can catch me at Recode Fitness. It's in Brea, CMMA in Gardena, Kings Anaheim or Kings MMA Anaheim, or CSW in Fullerton, right? Or I'll be picking the human encyclopedia's brain in the form of Eric Paulson. He just knows the counter to the counter to the counter and the origin of the counter. The guy's insanely smart and knowledgeable with all things martial arts. But
I know
yeah.
watching his videos are a nightmare sometimes because I start explaining something and then that leads you to another video and suddenly it's 4 hours later and then he went in
Oh
to
yeah.
see a wrist lover because he explains everything. Oh, and that links to that. Then you watch that one to that. Yeah, it's crazy. But but right, okay then. And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience or mention or
If
any shout outs?
Yeah. Definitely a shout out to my coaches. My coaches, my family, my girlfriend, they've all put a bunch of effort into me. Um, but one thing that I would like to shout out, especially, is our GoFundMe for this next Snake Pit World Championship. It's in my Instagram bio. You just click the link; it'll take you to there. It has all other links to the ACWA competitions, which the next one's in August 10th. If you're in Southern California, or just want to fly there and compete, which will be awesome. But there's a link in my bio, takes you to that, takes you to the GoFundMe. It just really helps us out as far as like covering our flights, our food, our lodging. Um, yeah, it helps me, helps the team, helps everybody.
Yes, yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well, so it's on there so people can get hold of that easily. Well, all I've got to say is, Angel, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today, and I want to wish
Of
you
course.
best of luck on Friday, and obviously I'll be cheering for the free Pete as well.
Thanks, Brett.
So, thank
I
you very
appreciate it.
much. Thank you, Angel, for taking time to join us this week, and best of luck with your free Pete at the Snake Pit World Championships in September. This has been the Grapple Roy Show, episode 27. I've been your host, Brett Summers, and we will be back next week with another guest. In the meantime, you can keep up to date with everything we do at thegrappleride.com or check out our social medias on Instagram, Facebook, and all the others. If you like to listen to our podcast, you can listen to us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts and on YouTube and all the other podcast apps that are available. And if you like to watch us, you can watch us on YouTube every Thursday. A new episode drops at 7 a.m. UK time. In the meantime, then, we will see you next week. So stay safe and stay on the mats.